The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Great to have you in on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark in. Lot of heavy lifting to get into today. As I hope you're enjoying a holiday. If you're off, if you're not, grind through with us. 489-1240 or 800-825-5865. Numbers to dial up. Can also watch the show and contribute in the StreamYard. We'll do our starting five coming up here shortly. Hail Varsity YouTube is how you watch the show. Subscribe and like. Give us some feedback there in the stream. Also, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. Give that a follow. And also can tweet into the show. Chris at hailvarsity.com. The email to fire off an email if you like. Find Elijah on Twitter at Herbalessence. Connor on Twitter at C_Clark_27. At Schmidt_radio for me. We'll get our starting five in just a moment. We'll dive into the Ashley Scoggin lawsuit in just a moment. Recap Husker baseball. Not bad, could be better. Husker basketball, kind of a yawner, but they did their job. It looked good in some instances and are now +1 in that race in the Big Ten, where there's 6 spots, it sounds like, for musical chairs to move on. And then some Husker football thoughts. Really good story by Tom Chattel in the World Herald on the fishbowl. So we'll get into the fishbowl that is Nebraska and dealing with the fishbowl as head coach. As you can imagine, we'll spend time with Jay Moore in the Blackshirt Hour. Next hour, Charlie McBride at 5. The first hour is yours, as always, on a Monday. So open phones and time for you to comment in the stream. Our starting five opens up with Brandon. He was in bright and early at 3:15. Mike checks in second. Jeff in at 3. Patrick is 4. Brennan in the Black Hills in at 5. Patrick checks in as well. You have Jeff. You have Weston. You have Mr. Jeff Snitley. Giggity, giggity, he says. It's let's go racing. Daytona 500 ongoing. Elijah, you were keeping an eye on it. Rex aplenty or just one?
Just the one to start out. Just the one to start out. And our good friend Eric in the stream chat, his car, Ricky Stenhouse's 47, still going as it currently stands. So we send our best to Eric. I don't think he'll be in the stream chat.
We are Team Eric.
If Eric's in the stream chat today, I have some serious questions for him about his priorities.
Is he in the pit or is he watching the show in the pit?
Well, one thing I know is he's not in the car. Which is a good thing. You don't want to be watching Hail Varsity Radio and driving. You can listen on our various live affiliates here in KFOR, in 590, Columbus, as well as the Superstation, Kearney Hastings, Grand Island. You can listen on the radio. I don't recommend watching while you're driving. Eric, luckily, not behind the wheel. He's in the pits today.
That might give Stenhouse some added fuel if he's got us going, either through frustration,
just calm the nerves,
right, or just grip and rip a little harder. Brian Snitley is in. Andrew and Elijah, the OG version, is in. And Elijah asks a beard question here. Should we start an over-under on when Elijah H. will shave that caterpillar under his nose?
The question, and the real question, and this is me being 100% serious, I don't have the question answered. Do I go clean-shaven before baseball season?
Yes.
The high school baseball
absolutely
season,
not.
Is.
Oh, clean-shaven? I think
he's an umpire.
You keep the stash. The stash gives you authority.
I think so as well, but maybe it's just time for a fresh. It's been a full year with the mustache. Over a full year.
Did you get it the birthday gift?
Well, I could shave. My birthday's coming up here. I'm sure you guys are curious to know. Put it in your calendars. No.
May?
March.
I was getting there.
No. The scenic route.
You were really close. I said it was close, and you missed
9 more guesses.
I said it was close. You missed the closest month, but you got the next closest month. Well, so I'm proud of you for that.
There you go. Goose checks in. Talk to me, Goose. Best president for President's Day, Theodore Roosevelt for the national parks.
That's a good answer.
We have a different question in honor of President's Day, and that's what president, living or passed on, would you want to go to a college football game with? So imagine the scene. You can either say, put me in the student section. That might get a little hairy with all the Secret Service, or put me in a suite. But either way, let's chop it up before we get a little too serious for a Monday with a lawsuit. But I'm going to, this isn't just because Goose said it, but old Teddy, I always got a kick out of Teddy and his backstory as a Rough Rider and kind of an outdoorsman and, a throwback, a man's man. I'm going to probably know how to make a campfire, go big game safari hunting. I'm going to put, 40 mooses in my basement right as you walk in. As he was kind of an old school turn of the century throwback. I think he'd be fun to watch college football game with. Love him or hate him, Trump would be the experience to just sit with and just. And him and Biden both used college football quite a bit, specifically in campaign ads during the pandemic that got after each other. And I know Trump went to the LSU national championship game, so that just from a curiosity standpoint, Trump would be up there. That's kind of my two, really. I don't know that JFK would wind my clock a whole lot with college football.
Yeah, it kind of depends where you go to watch a game with JFK.
I think you could have a hell of a good time after the game with JFK.
Probably.
I mean,
I think that falls into the experience, though. You got to take that into account, right? I mean, come on. It's the whole day.
Will I be drinking with Maryland and gangsters tonight?
Taking the secret White House subway system to get out to your favorite bars?
Allegedly. So, who are you guys going with?
Oh, it's easy for me. Okay. It is easy for me. And
preface this.
This comes from it's a president that has a bit of a checkered history, and let it be known.
Not a good history.
Not a good history.
Uh-oh.
This is
strict. Is he impeached?
No, he was not impeached.
Was he almost impeached?
No, he's still on the $20 bill. It's Andrew Jackson. Okay.
Okay.
And I know checkered the Trail of Tears, not a good look.
No.
I'll be the first to admit this has nothing to do with the politics.
That's an understatement. Jeez.
Sorry.
Just a slap on the wrist, yeah.
Wow, we're making light of that.
No, let's not make light of that, because this has nothing to do with his politics. This has everything to do with his inauguration. And if you guys don't know about the inauguration of President Jackson, it was a hoot. Thousands of people were allowed into the White House during his inauguration because President Jackson was seen as a president for the people, and so many people showed up for the inauguration. Like, let's turn this into a party. So what they did was they provided thousands of people with as much essentially whiskey and spiked punch as they could handle, and it ended up being like the White House was like, they ended up with like thousands of dollars worth of broken china from all these drunken party goers. People passed out in the White House and on the front lawn after this party. Andrew Jackson apparently was a little bit down. His wife had passed away before this, but he still got into the party as well and got into it. It just sounds like it was the largest party Washington, D.C. has ever seen. It was written by contemporary historians, like historians at the time, as well as modern historians, just about how insane this was. That sounds like a hoot. Andrew Jackson sounds like the type of president that knows how to have a good time. I think he would revel, absolutely revel, in like a game in Death Valley at LSU or maybe down in Tuscaloosa. Like, he strikes me as an SEC country kind of guy.
Yes.
And I think...
Tennessee guy?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he would just, me and Andrew Jackson hitting a game at Rocky Top, we're going to have ourselves a time.
I think you would.
Would you remember the time?
Most likely not, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, just go get it done and pass out people in the White House. Elijah for 100, please. Who do you got?
This is a good question. Honestly, JFK was a name that did come to mind for a little bit, just because I would be curious to see what that would be like. I think George W. is probably
big sports fan
in there as well. Big sports fan. I feel like going to an Army-Navy game with him would be awesome.
Sure.
Like, that would be sweet. It'd be a great time.
Why'd you trade Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, you could take him to a baseball game, too.
Do you remember whenever, sorry, this is a random aside, do you remember when they invited Donald Trump into the booth for the Army-Navy game, and he gets up there and says, "This is a great event, the football, it's not the best, but this is awesome."
Can
you say it in the voice for me? Can you do that?
That was the best I got.
Don, option football is a thing of beauty when you can win. 489-1240 numbers to get in today, and we'll get to some of your comments and thoughts, and we'll take your president and college football input. Who would you go to a college football game? What former or current president would you draft in honor of President's Day? Eric says Gerald Ford played his football at Michigan. He'd be fun tailgating. There you go with that.
We have a caller in who says Ronald Reagan would be his choice to go to a football game.
Sure, because he was the Gipper.
Mm-hmm.
And old Ronald Reagan he could tell a story, man. He could absolutely tell a story. The actor? No, Doc. All right.
I like Brendan's comment in here. Elijah talking about the good time in, quote, 407 beers ago.
That is pretty good.
Goose chimes in with the Roosevelt. Teddy would give you a cigar and a whiskey and tell you a good old hunting story while you're trying to watch the game. The person you're watching the game with that would talk a little bit too much. We'll dive into this here and continue on the other side, but from a fun, light topic to a serious situation. Ashley Scoggin suing Nebraska over a relationship with a coach. You have a former Nebraska women's basketball player accusing Coach Amy Williams and Athletic Director Trev Alberts of not taking appropriate action when her sexual relationship with an assistant coach became widely known. Scoggins filing a civil lawsuit in U.S. District Court describing how then associate head coach Chuck Love allegedly took special interest in her and how the relationship turned sexual and caused Scoggins to fear retaliation if she refused to engage in it. So this lawsuit was filed Sunday. In addition to Williams and Alberts, names the university's Board of Regents and Love as defendants. Scoggins seeks a jury trial in Lincoln and unspecified damages for alleged violation of her civil rights. Williams and a spokesperson with the Regents declined comment. Alberts and Love did not immediately respond to texts and emails from the Associated Press seeking comment. And you have a quote here from the attorney of Scoggin. It's a very troubling and serious subject of predatory coaches when that pursue sexual relationships with student athletes. There's an enormous imbalance of power between the professional coach and the student athlete. This is something that was well known in 2022. Certainly Division I athletes that operate at the top level are well aware the harm that comes from this kind of predatory situation, and there's a strong onus on the university and on the coaches to prevent this from happening and even forbid it does happen to address it correctly. Scoggins played 2 seasons for Nebraska, dismissed from the team on the same day Love was suspended with pay in February of 2022. Love resigned 3 months later. Scoggin now plays for UNLV. So this is absolutely a messy, potentially messy situation. 28-page lawsuit, federal court in Scotts Bluff is where this was filed. And it alleges that Chuck Love initiated the sexual relationship, and it's on the federal level here. So, what next for Nebraska? What next for all of these parties named? What next for Scoggins in this? And guys, if we rewind 2 years ago with this whole situation, I mean, there was some truth and some rumor floating out there that came to a head, and you have more details shed in this 28-page lawsuit.
Yeah, and the real parts here that stick with you, and I think are going to be what the lawsuit really focused on is that balance of power that is at play here with Chuck Love being an assistant coach and has some say over playing time. That then makes this seem like a sexual assault as opposed to a consensual sexual relationship, which then throws a wrench into things completely, considering Scoggin was thrown off the team whenever she may have been the victim in this situation, which then puts a lot of questions first on Coach Amy Williams and how she handled this situation, immediately kicking Scoggin off the team while Chuck Love was, or Coach Love, I should say, was placed on administrative leave. That is something that I think is going to be part of the forefront of this lawsuit. That is not a good look for what this, or I guess representing what this situation actually is. It makes it seem like Scoggin did something wrong, which on her side of the lawsuit, she did nothing wrong. She was the victim of a balance of power.
It's not supposed to happen to me. I'm
predatory action, and it comes off as the Nebraska basketball team not protecting their student athlete and punishing them for the wrongdoing of an assistant coach. Which, what does this mean for the future of Amy Williams? I don't think it looks good, personally, as I look at it. I know Trev Alberts is also listed in this lawsuit for not taking appropriate action to protect a student athlete. I'm not sure how much he is, dare I say, at risk here. But
sure, that's
might not be the best word to use. I'm not sure, but Amy Williams is I don't know. It's a tough situation, but it does not look good for her.
A little bit more on this. We'll kind of lay out more of this lawsuit. Hail Varsity continues on a Monday. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Monday edition, Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. More on the Scoggin's lawsuit. We laid out a little bit of it for you to end the past segment. When it comes to the filings here, you have Chuck Love, you have the University of Nebraska Board of Regents, you have Trev Alberts, you have Amy Williams named in this lawsuit. To hone in on Williams and Alberts, they're accused of not providing training or setting rules and policies prohibiting staff members from having sexual relationships with athletes, with the lawsuit saying the lack of safeguards was, quote, so reckless that misconduct involving sexual misconduct by coaches was inevitable as of September 2021. According to the lawsuit, you had Scoggin had an internship in the athletic department in the summer of 2021. She expressed interest in becoming a coach someday. Love invited Scoggins to work at a small table in his office. She accepted. Love asked Scoggins personal questions, including the type of alcohol she preferred, and Love began asking her to go out for drinks with him. Scoggin declined several invitations, but eventually accepted one. A few days later, they met late at night at a Costco parking lot where Love kissed her and asked, have you ever done anything with a coach before, quote, and end quote. And that interaction left Scoggin feeling confused and trapped because it was now undeniable that Love wanted a sexual relationship. Once the relationship turned sexual, Love expected Scoggin to be, quote, available and willing, end quote, whenever he wanted to have sex, including summoning her to his hotel room when the team traveled for away games. And Elijah and Connor, this instance in February of 2022 is what's circled and highlighted in this lawsuit, the weekend at Penn State. In February of 2022, team members and practice players created a ruse to confirm and videotape Scoggin's presence in Love's hotel room. A male practice player falsely represented himself to a desk clerk. As Love obtained a duplicate room key, two team members confronted Scoggin in Love's room. They reported their findings and showed the video to Coach Williams. Williams cast Ashley in the role, again according to this lawsuit, of a seducer and a liar. She allowed the players to berate and accuse Ashley for hours. She did not redirect or counsel the players that what they had seen may be a result of abuse of power by her associate head coach. So upon returning to Lincoln, Scoggins was not informed of her rights under Title IX, and in a meeting with Williams and other members of the administration was told she was off the team. According to this complaint, Scoggins' dismissal and Love suspension were reported simultaneously by the media. So you have a couple of key questions here with this lawsuit here when it comes to liability for the university. One, should the coach have known, or did the coach know what was going on? Two, you have abuse of power. And you just look at the situation in smaller team sports. You have a football team in a football program where, guys, you have 110 and many more walk-ons, right? Just look at the sheer numbers. You look at basketball, you've got 12 to 15 on the roster, maybe more, maybe less, but it's a smaller group setting. And when you look at that, I mean, you have several things here where, one, you have Love recruited her to campus. You have special relationships that are developed. Your lead recruiter in basketball is somebody that you're really tied to the hip to, and somebody that you are really, really presumably comfortable with, because that's who you bought into. Yes, the coach, yes, the program, but the person that recruited you is somebody that you're there for, and they control your playing time, they control your day-to-day experience, and there's also the team perception of you in that setting. And all of that here is the abuse of power angle with this lawsuit.
I mean, I kind of go back to what we covered this summer with Northwestern, and I know that was a different situation and a much bigger one too, just with the amount of people that were involved. But you go back to the question of, should the head coach should have known, or did she know? You probably answer yes to at least one of those, right? Because especially, too, if there are instances happening of this on the road, not in a, like, this isn't strictly in Lincoln. Like,
no, this is Happy Valley.
Yeah, you're in a hotel. You're all in a enclosed space, essentially. You're in the same building. So the fact that that's happening on the road makes it harder to believe that nobody knew what was going on before, and the fact that a ruse had to be put together by practice players.
You got a sting op to obtain proof to show the head coach. And, I mean, you have Williams.
It's an ugly situation.
Yeah, you have Williams and you have Love that go back a lot of years to South Dakota. And she came with him from South Dakota. And you just... It's just not this is obvious, but it's just not a great look. And more on this lawsuit. Nebraska, Williams, and Alberts were motivated to avoid scandal and embarrassment to the Cornhusker women's basketball program instead of being motivated to protect its student athlete. Ashley, that's what the lawsuit says. NU, Williams, and Alberts allowed the speculation and perception to fester that Ashley was equally to blame or otherwise had done something improper, when they should have sent a clear message that it is always improper for a professional coach to pursue a sexual relationship with a student athlete. Do you need your team rules in signed form as you walk into the facility? One of those rules being players and coaches don't have sex with one another. Is it implied to know that that's a no-no from a coach's standpoint? Absolutely. From a player's standpoint as well. I mean, does it need to be? I
don't think you need that in writing.
Well,
at least in the locker room. I mean, come on.
Is that one of the team rules? And I'm not making a joke or light of the situation. I'm saying, look, that's a no-no. And I don't know basketball or university sports well enough to be able to appropriately comment on just how, what's the tip of the iceberg in team sports between coaches and players. I mean, what's the romantic involvement? Does it happen? Sure, it has happened. How widespread is it among other programs at different universities? And is there something like this out there that we can kind of look back at and say, well, here's what happened at X, Y, and Z college when something like this went down.
And we also don't know if there's a set of rules for the coaching staff that Amy Williams had in place. And as the lawsuit goes forth, maybe that will be something that comes to light that Coach Love did, in fact, violate some sort of rules within the coaching staff. We don't know at that point. But right now it feels like, I mean, Amy Williams, there's the before the fact and after the fact of when it comes to light, where before the fact, if you didn't know, you should have known.
Right.
You should have done more to figure things out. Clearly, there's enough of a rumor going around the team that they do conduct this sting operation. So you wonder if this rumor is so widespread throughout the team, how does the coaching staff, Amy Williams in particular, not know, or why does she not know? Does she choose to not know? And then after the fact, the way you portray it as Scoggin, I mean, as at least from her side of the story in the lawsuit, that she was the complete and total victim in this circumstance. Well, and the fact that after the fact, by kicking her off the team, you paint her as a villain, as an instigator, as somebody who is to blame in this situation. That is the second strike on the record of Amy Williams, and why I think it looks bad for her moving forward in both senses. Because first off, you didn't know when you should have known, or you chose to not know. You chose to turn your nose up at it. The second being how you handled it after the fact was not in a way that protects your student athlete and protects the victim.
It wasn't, you stay, both Love and Scoggins weren't at that Penn State game, but you had a team meeting. And coaches talk about team and family, so some families, if there's an elephant in the room, will call a family meeting and you'll hash it out. That's what happened for hours before the Penn State game, where you had players, per this lawsuit, go after Scoggins, and you had players go after Coach Love. And the tone, at least from this lawsuit and Scoggins' point of view and her reporting, was that she was really hammered on, swore at, and made to feel like, again, the person that tried to seduce the coach.
And you'd believe it because of the way it's handled, where Love is put on administrative leave. He's essentially suspended, whereas Scoggin is just immediately kicked off the team. Right. There seems to be that double standard there of why is she kicked off the team while he is placed on administrative leave. I mean, there's obviously, I'm sure, red tape and
both
paperwork.
Of them.
But yes, you can suspend both of them, the same punishment as more facts come to light. Like, the handling of it is just horrible. Like, terrible all around, because like at a place like Nebraska, which I think we're going to get into this here, it's a fishbowl.
Sure.
What is done in the dark will come to the light, clearly. And by the way you handled this, it sent the message out there with, we all knew, like, there were rumors flying around when this happened. Mm-hmm. It all sends the message out there that, well, he's suspended, she's off the team, she's clearly done something wrong, she's clearly done more wrong.
It forms the false
narrative. Whether or not that is the narrative, or whether or not that is the true story, that is the narrative that comes about by the way you handled it.
Sure. Well, and again, you're the coach, you're in position of power. There are lines you don't allegedly cross, right? Because, again, per this lawsuit, both have, during this interrogation, denied any relationship. And moving forward, I mean, you had Coach resign, and she went to UNLV. And right now, if I'm Nebraska, I settle this thing.
I mean, like outside of court?
Yes. You settle this thing, and you move forward. And on the court, you have a really good basketball team. You have a team that's right now, by all projections, in the women's tournament, in the field as an 8 seed. You just beat Iowa. And
timing isn't great.
No, and this is absolutely a monster distraction, but it's a bigger problem than just saying it's a distraction.
It's bigger than a distraction, because there's not many coaches that keep their job through a situation like this. Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it feels like. This feels like Amy Williams is headed towards being fired. This doesn't happen when coaches keep their jobs very often, if at all.
We'll dive into the fishbowl that is Nebraska's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, 25 minutes away. Jay Moore follows. And a reminder to get buckled up. Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Impaired driving is deceptively dangerous. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Pretty good story from Tom Chattel. We love having Tom on the show from time to time as we transition from this lawsuit story. And we'll get to more of your comments here in the stream on the Scoggin story. But the topic of the fishbowl that is Nebraska, right? And Tom spent time with Matt Rhule, and I think it was a 2-part column he did. And I first read it Sunday morning, and just a cool feature, but just Rhule around town. And even when he did the Reese Davis's and Pete Thamel's pod last week, he was talking about restaurants and just the time he has in Lincoln. Now, Nebraska played well. They played pretty put together at times last year. Other times they didn't close in November, and Rhule's absolutely cards on the table with that. There's things that they're going to get better at. But you look at the momentum here with Tony White staying around another year, and you get Raiola, of course, and Kalen in this recruiting class, and, of course, what you have returning. You can be excited about Nebraska football, not just from the leadership and the development you have with Rhule and his staff, but just you see the arrow going the right direction if you're a Nebraska football fan. But just how do you do your day-to-day? And are you the same dude when the cameras are off as you are when the cameras are on, right? And that absolutely seems like Rhule to a T. And he's the guy out there that you enjoy it, I would assume, when folks would come up to you and say, hey, what's up? How are you? And be it at the grocery store or at a restaurant or just out and about. But Rhule is going to go to the small town coffee shop. Easy Ed Foley for sure is going to go to the small Nebraska coffee shop. And they're people persons. And they take time and say, how you doing? What's going on? And be it at a Broadway play or, out getting your car washed. Rhule's that guy that's super comfortable. That goes a long way from a mindset, mentality, understanding the job, getting it, and doing his research, fellas, like he did. He came here on a game day just to see what it was like incognito for the Illinois game, right? When he's just kind of kicking it around downtown Lincoln during a game. What's this really like? And it's easier for some to handle than others. And a lot of it is about maturity. A lot of it is about your own character. And a lot of it is about how thick your skin is.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to something that we talked about when Matt Rhule was hired, Schmidt, where it's Matt Rhule's a fit with Nebraska on more than just the football field. Like, you talk about his personality, right? You talk about his values. Why does he handle the fishbowl well? Because the fishbowl, essentially you're being graded by the people of Nebraska, the media of Nebraska, however you want to portray it, based on the values of Nebraska. And obviously one of the values that Nebraskans hold, especially with their football team, is success. And I think that is more than just a football thing. That is how the people of Nebraska carry themselves in their day-to-day life, where they are successful people, people from the state of Nebraska.
Hard working.
But they're hard workers. Matt Rhule's a hard worker. Nebraskans value family values. They value a family life. And Matt Rhule seems to fit that mold very well. Like, you just think about what a Nebraskan is whenever you're being stereotypical. What is a Nebraskan? Well, they're a hard worker. They respect family values. They are high achieving. Like, this is what I think of when I think of Nebraskans. And Matt Rhule fits the bill there. Why does he handle the fishbowl well? Because essentially, from who he is, his personality, he is a Nebraskan.
I mean, it'd tell you win over the fan base, too. Like, we would walk out of basketball games last winter, and he would just be literally walking in the crowd out of the stadium, and people would realize it and just kind of yell at him like "Go Big Red" or something. But it's just like he's some other guy walking around on the street, which is kind of funny because it's just so opposite of what it was.
There's no entourage. There's no security.
It's just him. It's him and a buddy. It's so funny, and it's a great thing, obviously, and the fact that you see him popping up at all these different things and at speaking at different events, and just kind of, I don't know if we've talked about this at length, but just immersing himself into the community as if he moved here to, take a job here or something, right? Like, just take any other job in Lincoln. It could have been corporate, could have been anything. But no, he's a head football coach and arguably the most important man in the state when it comes to people's opinions. So it's really impressive. It's kind of funny at the same time, but a good funny. And I really enjoy just seeing Matt Rhule just pop up out of nowhere sometimes. It's
Guys,
fun.
do you feel, too, it's beyond, it's genuine, it's beyond, let's build some equity, let's build some goodwill, despite going 5-7, but that 5-7 looked a lot different than past 5-7. So Nebraska fans, to your point, Elijah, are hardworking. They're tough, and they love the effort level above all versus the result. And Nebraskans see that. So it's a lot easier to cheer for a guy that you like and you see as somebody that is not on this self-elevated pedestal. It's somebody that is going to get in the trenches with you.
Well, the best way to put it, does Matt Rhule not feel like your neighbor?
That's fair.
Like, in a good way. Like, Matt Rhule feels like the guy that just lives down the block from you, that's always nice enough, always waves at you when you drive by. Like, Matt Rhule, maybe this is the best way to put it, he feels just like an average guy. He feels like a Nebraskan. He doesn't have this ego. He doesn't have.
You could join the Average Joe Sports Show.
It almost
Someday
feels like
he
is above the fishbowl effect because he is not the person who puts himself up on a pedestal. He is the average, everyday type guy. And maybe I'm giving Matt Rhule too much credit here because I don't know the guy personally. But it almost feels like he's above that fishbowl effect because it's not that he doesn't treat himself as some special person. I don't think the state of Nebraska, they give him more attention than the average person, but they don't treat him as if he's a different person, if that makes sense. They treat him like an average everyday guy working a very high level job.
You're another new coach here. Can you fix it, please? We'll love you. Right? You have Redwine checking in. He grew up in New York too, which you probably have to deal with a lot of folks. Yeah. And he has said himself, New York's not always the friendliest place. Plus his dad's a minister. So, yeah, I mean, you've got that. Go shake hands and connect with people. And the other thing he can do that is as good as there has been here is his ability to communicate, not just in front of a camera or microphone, but just you're seeing a difference right now with retention versus attrition. And you're seeing that retention because guys want to come back and play for them. It's a place that you don't want to really leave. It's turned into the Hotel California. And not in a negative way, where you just can't escape in the Hotel California. We'll wind down hour one. We'll talk to Coach McBride a little bit about the fishbowl topic, see how Uncle Charlie's doing, if he caught any fish or ate some wings this weekend. Jay Moore joins us, the Blackshirt Hour. It's Hail Varsity on a Monday, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back one final time this hour. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Can catch the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play is how you can get the show anytime you want. The YouTube channel, subscribe to that, Hail Varsity YouTube. Subscribe to that, all the live shows that way, and get the content you want. That means your ability to watch past shows and also the press conferences. Cliff checks in from Florida. Appreciate you saying hey, Cliff. Tiger Shark Diver checks in. He says, let's just be happy Elijah can grow a stash. That's a comment on the year's effort. Well played. And so Ben, is this brother Ben?
No relation.
Okay.
No, it is. This is my brother.
Okay. Brother Ben, okay, hear me out here. Hail Varsity Radio gets boozed up and live streams EA College Football 25 this summer. Could do that.
Now we're on to something.
This is an idea.
Yeah.
We could even have like a little lottery, get a couple listeners in, get like a tourney of like 8. a tourney of 8, single elimination, until we crown a champion.
Oh, I'm getting eliminated right away.
I haven't played.
You could give whoever's playing me a bye.
I haven't played EA for 20 years.
All right, I got this then.
I suck at
and then
video games.
And then you turn it into a drinking game is what you do. Every touchdown scored,
still
finish
drink?
drink.
Can I still drink, but proxy Junior as my game player?
You can play. You can be the broadcaster. You can commentate.
Oh, well, thank you.
You could just drink on the side and not up.
So you want me to get all Harry Carey?
I would love to hear you go Harry Carey commentating some football.
That'd be great.
17.
I would even bring you large glasses.
Whiskey. Make sure you get out and check out the Omaha Supernovas, pro volleyball in Omaha. What an amazing experience. Record crowd again over the weekend. And be a part of the Supernovas, supernovas.com, how you can log on and get your season tickets or your single match tickets today. Log on, supernovas.com. That's a roster that has Olympians, NCAA champions, All-Americans, and it is world-class fan experience. You'll have a great time with family and friends. Get up to CHI in Omaha, but before you do that, swing on by the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, either the Gretna location or in La Vista, and get a food and drink, get your tummy full, and then head on out to see the Supernovas. So we'll check in with Coach McBride. We'll ask him the President's Day question. What we can ask him whether he wants to golf, because I think Uncle Charlie used to golf, and I know he'll still fish. We can make it golf or fishing with Uncle Charlie. What current or past president he may have met. I mean, he did meet, because when Nebraska won all those championships, they went to the White House. So I think it was back-to-back years he got to hang out with Clinton. And I don't know what they served. It wasn't, McDonald's. Like old Trumpster was handing out Happy Meals to Clemson.
Oh, that's good. That's
double, son. Congrats.
You want the fish or the chicken?
A chocolate shake?
For a couple bucks extra, I'll give you a Big Mac. You guys buying the Trump shoes?
No.
No?
No.
I don't even know
These are atrocious looking.
You don't like the gold? You can't rock the gold?
Funniest comment I did see was Nick Bosa's going to put cleats on these and wear them next year.
And still won't get a holding call.
No, I can't say I care about the Trump shoes.
Junior's on the fence. He's wondering if he can resell them. All right, hour 2 on the way. Coach McBride kicks us off at Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
It's hour 2. Welcome into it. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. As we dive in, the Blackshirt Hour gets kicked off. We always love catching up with Charlie McBride. Jay Moore in a little bit as well, and we'll check in with Charlie in just a moment. Elijah is hogging Charlie all to himself right now, and he puts the number 1 finger up like he's Larry Bird, just hammering a 3-point contest winner. We'll see. We'll see if this happens. Elijah is just giving us dirty looks from behind the window. Maybe if you're watching the show on Hail Varsity YouTube channel, you can see Elijah just saying, no, I'm going to keep Charlie all to myself on the phone before putting him on. Without further ado, we welcome in Mr. Blackshirt. It's a Monday with Charlie, Coach Charlie McBride. Coach, how was the weekend? Thanks for joining us.
Well, it was good. I wanted to know for sure what it was all about. There was just nothing. I mean, we had nobody here. Everybody's gone. It was like Monday every day. It was pretty sad. So we got some things done around the house, which looked at each other like a couple of people that we were really doing something good. We weren't really.
Well, I ran into the problem this weekend, Charlie, of every Sunday after football season, I always forget about this till it comes back around. You never have a more unfulfilling Sunday afternoon without football, because either you get things done that you've been meaning to get done, and like that feels good, but you go, man, I wish I would have had a little more relaxation this Sunday, or you just spend all Sunday relaxing and you go, man, I really should have gotten some more things done. I just didn't do anything. No matter where you go, it's always unsatisfying, whereas if you're just parked on your couch watching football, you always end up feeling
justify
fulfilled.
it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I have an '86 Ford pickup, 4 on the floor, and it runs better than my 22 car. It's a 2022 car. It runs better than it. It starts every time you turn a key, and it's, in cold weather, anytime it goes, you can talk to it. It talks back to you. So I have fun with that thing. I just go out every morning, be sure and start it so it doesn't have a stinking spell on me.
Do you talk nice to it?
All the time. Listen, you better talk nice to the thing, because this thing it's a beauty. I mean, it is. It really is. I've had guys come up. They don't even know if it runs or not. They come up and offer me money for it on the street right away. I mean, it doesn't have any dents in it. It looks no rust. It looks kind of nice. And for a car like that, the only thing is I just had to get a new motor for the windshield wipers, because it's kind of hard to drive around here when it's raining and snowing without windshield wipers.
Whenever they come up to you asking for it, do you just tell them, I only drive it to church on Sundays?
I just drive. I don't let anybody touch it.
Well, send us a picture of it. I would love to see a picture of the Blackshirt mobile.
It is. It's gray, and you never have to wash it. It's got the kind of paint on you. Just spray it off. No, really. And it shines. It doesn't. It's got this stuff that's about as thick as a nickel. I mean, it's really thick. And
my car came with that.
And Kranowitz's brother did it, so I know it's good.
I love that. Well, Coach, it's President's Day, and we kind of went around the room, and either current, i.e. alive president, or past president, you'd either go fishing with or would want to go to a football game with. I said Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, he's going to push the wheelchair?
No. No. I'm just asking, what president would you pick?
I don't know.
None?
Yeah, I tell you what, I really have to think about that one. I think that, I suppose Reagan would probably be pretty good for me. I mean, at least he'd be fun to be with.
Sure.
Because he's kind of a jokester and kind of, more relaxed than a lot of them I've seen. And I think if you went now, maybe the guy wouldn't even remember the game, so you don't want to pick him. So that's about the way I look at it, I guess. Of course, I'm getting that way, too, so I better shut my mouth.
Charlie, tell us, did you ever get a chance in your White House visits back in the late 90s to meet President Clinton?
Well, we had a good time, I mean, it's interesting. No, I mean, the whole thing is kind of a deal. It's a little bit educational. I mean, really, they take you around and show you around the White House and things, and the president kind of hides out. I think, some of the presidents, I think they have a couple of pops before they come out and talk.
Yeah.
But it really was. I think it was really interesting that when we went with Michigan to get both at the same time.
I was going to say, did you guys play it on the White House lawn to settle it?
Well, we could have. I think I might have saved the day, but because I know all those guys at Michigan. I knew them all, as friends, and it was good. It was kind of a nice thing, and to have. It's always good to be there, no matter who the president is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been guys that I've heard lately that haven't gone because of this and that and the other, and that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're with your teammates and everything, and it's doesn't last that long, and it's educational, I think.
Yeah, we kind of went through. Elijah, you picked who? Old Hickory?
Yeah, Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson, because Andrew opened up the White House and threw a monster party for everybody was invited in Washington. This was back in 1827. I picked either Trump to watch a football game with, or I mentioned Reagan, but I thought Roosevelt, Teddy would have been fun just because he was a big game hunter. And Connor, you were still.
It was George W.
You were going with W.
At the Army-Navy game specifically.
Yeah, he wanted to go to the Army-Navy. So.
Well, yeah, you took who now?
I said I would go with Teddy Roosevelt because he was kind of an outdoorsman, a sportsman, past president. Or Trump has been to a lot of football games recently, and whether you're for or against him, it'd be an experience to be around him. That's for certain.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's good. No, that's. One thing is that if you have a solid debate on all of it, you're going to end up with talking about the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's all going to be equal. I think you can't. I don't think anybody could ever decide who the best one would be. I don't think I would want to go with Nixon or some of them that somebody that just doesn't even get involved, doesn't even think about athletics. I think sometimes.
Right. Yeah, what's the experience going to be like? Are you going to have a good old time after the game? JFK maybe in the running then, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, definitely in the running.
I think we found our answer.
I think the one thing that makes Roosevelt really interesting is he did save the game of football. If you go back in time, he was such a football fan, and so many people were dying playing the sport of football back early in his presidency that he got the powers that be for college football together and was like, we need to
wear helmets.
I mean, Roosevelt was the one who kind of thought of the idea of the forward pass. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, imagine having that at a football game like today. If we can transport Roosevelt to today and take him to a football game, that would be pretty exciting.
There's some games, though, that, if the forward pass would have been illegal, that'd have been okay, too.
Roosevelt would have loved Iowa football.
If you think back a little bit, the thing that was good about Reagan was it wasn't only football, and I'll tell you what, he was on the phone in the locker room with some of the coaches.
Was he?
Right after they won a national championship or something. I mean, he was in the girls' basketball and the girls' baseball. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was on the phone with NCAA champions.
That's pretty awesome.
I don't know any other president that really did a lot of that at all. And but it wasn't just football.
Yeah, he did Major League. He loved baseball. He was a baseball announcer.
Now, who was the president that drew up a play for the Super Bowl? You remember that?
Well, it had to have been.
Nick Foles never served.
No. I don't know. Maybe Ford?
Was it Nixon?
Maybe. Nixon was a Jets fan.
Yeah, I found it from Yahoo Sports. Richard Nixon called Don Shula before Super Bowl VI to give the Dolphins advice on a play call.
That's why they went unbeaten, apparently.
And apparently it lost yardage.
Hand it to Zonka. Coach, before we get you out, we were talking about the fishbowl of Nebraska, and Tom Chattel did a really good story connecting with Matt Rhule and how Matt's dealing with just the celebrity and being the head coach or being a well-known coach in the state of Nebraska. And Rhule's out and about, going to the grocery store. He's going to getting his car washed. He's hitting restaurants. He's obviously coaching a lot, working hard, recruiting always. But he's really embraced the state. And I know, Coach, you had so much joy here in Lincoln. But speak a moment to just being that celebrity.
Yeah.
Of coexisting in the same city with all the fans, or being around the state.
Well, he's doing it, and the way he's doing it, he becomes one of them. He's a real person. He's not climbing the ladder because I'm the head coach at Nebraska. He's climbing the ladder because I'm your neighbor, and I think that's really important. I think that that's the right thing, especially with the people in Nebraska. It means a lot to them. When they go in the store, you're just a regular guy. And, I'm sure he pushes himself a little bit to be known just by talking with people. But it's still the idea that, he just wants to be one of the people from Nebraska. He doesn't want to be the head coach when he goes out and does that stuff.
No, that makes a ton of sense, and it's endearing, but it's done from an authentic standpoint, which is the most important thing,
Right. It's a way to get. I think all these things get passed on. I mean, and it helps in recruiting. I mean, people are going to talk about that, the recruits, and recruits are going to hear about it, or they're going to read about it, or they're going to, something's going to happen along the way. That it never hurts, okay, when you can be yourself and go out and have some fun. And just like when he went in the basketball game, the heck, he went down on the floor with the students. And I that's the kind of stuff that to me is kind of a heartwarming thing to see a person that doesn't think he's Superman or anything else, and he's just trying to be one of us, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Charlie McBride's with us, a Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, are you going to have any wings this week before we get you out? Are you doing chicken wings?
No, I had some the other night, and boy, were they bad.
Oh, really?
God. They were. Well, I had them too long. They tasted like string bean.
That's too bad.
Without a taste. It was awful.
Well,
I nearly gave up on chicken wings.
I don't believe that for a minute. You're going to get back on that horse. You're going to have chicken wings again.
Well, I got to go to town get into Lincoln with my son David, and he knows all the spots. So we end up, gaining about 5 pounds by the time we get through.
That's okay. Well, you get on that chicken wing adventure, and we'll talk to you next week. Fun to spend some time today. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm still here.
So are we.
I'll talk to you all next week.
See you, Coach.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, bye now.
There he is, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride. He loves that pickup. I got to get a picture of that pickup.
I mean, the way he talked about it, he seems like he likes that pickup more than life itself.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, and
you should offer money.
He'll turn you down.
I know.
It's that metallic. I wonder if it's metallic gray or if it's kind of a gunmetal gray.
I was looking up some pictures of the 88 Fords, and they did have a natural gray
86,
color. 86
Ford.
86. Oh, I was looking up the wrong Ford.
My grandpa had a 70 Ford. Old Greenie is what he called it. And it was a 70 Ford that ran. And, that thing was awesome.
The 86 Ford is beautiful.
I got to look it up.
It's got like a two-tone kind of silver going on.
Does it?
It's like a darker gray and like a silver. Beautiful.
Extended cab or just no?
I assume it was an option. Did we ask Charlie?
No, we didn't. No.
I'm seeing both, so I assume there's both.
No. Well, we'll try and get a picture of Uncle Charlie's pick-em-up truck, the infamous Black Shirt Mobile. Jay Moore joins us next, part of the Blackshirt Hour. It's Hail Varsity. We'll dive into that fishbowl topic with Jay and maybe some adventures off the field with Jaybird. Hail Varsity rolls forward, powered by Cornhead Lager.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Who's Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Blackshirt Monday continues. Hail Varsity Radio. We say hi to Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, as we get rolling here. Jay, no golf this afternoon. I'm sad for you, but decent temps on the outlook, so I assume you're going to be putting for some dough later.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out at least once this week, and then if the forecast holds up, and then even next weekend as well. So, yeah, this has been a fantastic spring so far. Would have loved to get out today, but just with, kids being out of school and stuff, it just was logistically just wasn't going to work out, unfortunately.
So where are you at? We'll get to some football topics here in a moment, but where are you at as far as kind of the amateur tournaments? And because I know you've won State Amateur of the Year, and you're always within striking distance of that title. What's your golf pursuit currently looking like?
Well, I'm just trying to get healthy. Obviously, I had surgery in November, had my left hip replaced in November. So I feel way better, but it's still not to where I need to be. And I've hit balls, and I played 9 holes here or there, but I need to still get stronger and strengthen everything up around it, because it's weird, because once you replace a body part, I guess, your body takes some time to adjust, like your posture and everything else. So I got to kind of teach my body how to be strong in like a new posture. So this is just I've been doing some physical therapy here as of late, just trying to get that all situated and get it ready. And then once spring kind of gets here, and really nothing major until May, myself and Dave Easley, one of my best buddies here in Lincoln, we qualified for the United States 4-ball tournament. That's up at Philly Cricket Club in May. So we can do that. We qualified for that last August. Be up there in May. And then it's really just, the individual stuff will get going. That's locally and hopefully nationally getting some qualifiers going too. So right now is just, I'm hoping for, obviously being healthier, having no hip issues like I had last year, and just better golf. And I know when you're in pain and, your body's not able to do certain things, you're just going to struggle. I don't care who you are. And so I'm just looking forward to feeling good for once, because that hasn't happened in a long time.
Well, Jay, to combine this last topic with the day we have today, President's Day, a fully healthy Jay Moore beats how many U.S. presidents in a round of golf? Is it all of them?
I don't know. I think Trump's got a decent game, actually.
Yeah, and I remember George Bush has that famous clip of him holding a press conference kind of on the golf course, where he says, "Now watch this drive." I think a lot of people have seen that video. So he might be one to watch out for. But then you go back to some of the older presidents. I think you got all of them beat.
Yeah, I think you look at it. I think Eisenhower liked to play. Obviously, they had a tree named after him at Augusta National. I don't even know if it's still there anymore. I know Kennedy was a big golfer. I think all of them play. You got to do something to keep your mind off the craziness that is being the president of this country. But I think I would have the best match right now would be with Trump. That'd be a hell of a story to tell. I tell you, I know that. I've talked to people who have played with him during presidency and after presidency, and just with Secret Service and all that stuff, it's just an absolute nightmare, as you can only imagine.
So what's the book on the Donald? Is he somebody you got to watch? They always called it OJ golf, because OJ'd drop a ball if he would sure. miss hit the first one, right?
Right. Well, I think with Trump, I'm not saying like nightmare and like him personally. It's just the chaos that comes with it. A buddy of mine played with him a couple of years ago in the Pennsylvania area, and I think he has a Trump course in Philly as well, but it wasn't at his place. And he said he rolled up with like 20 Secret Service guys, and they are everywhere. I mean, they are lining the fairway. He said that if there was no one, there's always has to be some sort of Secret Service between him and, whatever it may be, the clubhouse or just kind of the net. There's always got to be, there's a degree of cover, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's not, he says they're taking golf carts across the golf green to get them covered. Like, they didn't care one bit. So he goes, it was chaos. He said he was fine to play with, and he's actually a good player. But he says just dealing with everything else was just, he goes, I don't want to have to do that again. That was no fun.
Well, there's these guys that they do an online series that's called the back off challenge. So all they do is they go pick a hole on a golf course and go stand at the tee box, and they try to make comments to people in order to screw them up on their drives or their approach shots or whatever it be. And the best one is when Donald Trump steps up to the tee box and these guys are just making all these comments about Stormy Daniels and about mishandling of illegal documents and whatnot, and then Trump just absolutely dots one onto the green from on this par 3. It's I think he's a guy that's used to that kind of pressure of all the Secret Service people there and all the attention, but you wonder about how an average Joe like you or me or Jay would be able to stand up to that kind of pressure.
Jay'd be fine. I would send it into the water.
I'd send it backwards somehow.
I'd kill a goose. That'd be my birdie. Jay Moore's with us, Blackshirt Husker NFL, or at JMoore44 on Twitter's where you follow him. Co-host Big Red Wrap-Up. Jay, Elijah and I talked in hour 1 about the Nebraska fishbowl, and it's in reference to really good 2-part story Tom Chattel wrote in spending some time with Matt Rhule. And there's the fishbowl that you feel as a player and, as a member of the media covering, and the fishbowl's 17 times more intense, and I just threw out a random number with social media today. But it's always been intense from Devaney to now, right? But there's been more scrutiny, more intensity. You're never really just alone, it doesn't feel like, especially if you have the stature as head coach of Nebraska football, and some coaches have handled it better than others. It feels like Rhule's really comfortable in his own skin with not only the job and the drive to get this thing flipped around, but just pretty personable with fans that want to come up and say what's up to him. He's not really, at least through year 1, bothered by the attention, the microscope.
That's very fair. I think it's good of him, because I think in past, and really, Mike Riley was out and about in the public quite a bit, and obviously Scott was not. Bill Callahan sure was, and I think Frank and T.O. had their moments. And again, when you're talking about Frank and T.O., there were times were vastly different. You could go out and not have someone take a picture of you having a beer at a local establishment with a camera phone or doing something or bugging you, and then just whatever it may be. And I know once Mike took over, and then the Scott. I mean, that's times are vastly different. But I think it just has to fit with who you are personally and being comfortable in your own skin. I mean, I see his assistants out and about too, just living their life, right? Being who they are. I think you got to almost do that, because I think you can get a little too, I don't want to say like self-absorbed or caught up in it. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be caught doing this. I don't all these things. I know you got to be careful, right? You can't be an idiot out there, and you got to be smart, but go live your life. If you want to go have a beer after a basketball game or after a baseball game, whatever it is, or even after the football game at a tailgate with go have a beer. You're a grown man. And if people want to judge you one way or the other, that's fine. You're not going to make everyone happy in this world. And I think that's what they understand. But I think it's just, this is a very unique place. Obviously, it's the only show in town. We don't have another Division I school. If you want to say, besides Creighton basketball and hockey that gets attention, and I know baseball is vastly improved as well. But Nebraska football is the show. We don't have the Kansas City Chiefs in our state. I know they're nearby. You still got all these other big Big Ten schools. They have other Big Ten schools in their state, or they have other NFL teams, NBA teams, NHL teams that are right around their city. So it just takes some of that, attention off of them a little bit. But it's very unique, and I think you have to. You can embrace it like this, or you don't have to embrace it all, and you can kind of, stay in your own foxhole and. Not be vulnerable to anything, or you can embrace it and enjoy it, and not let the pressure get to you, because you can't. There's a lot of pressure in this job, so I like that. I like them being out. I like them, being humans. Right? They're humans. They're coaches. They make a lot of money doing it, but they're humans as well. And let them do that. And I think the majority of the time when I've seen coaches out or people out, I think people do a really good job of letting them kind of be. They might say, hey, coach, great job this year. Looking forward to watching you, blah, blah, blah. Hey, can I take a quick picture? But for the most part, no one's really bending their ear too much. And everyone's been very respectful of their time and space, which I think that, obviously helps as well.
It's Jay Moore with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, talking Matt Rhule, kind of dealing with that fishbowl effect. And Jay, one of the things that Matt Rhule said to us at Big Ten Media Days last year was that he kind of runs his program as if there's always the ESPN cameras following around the program, following around the staff. They do it as if everyone is watching their every move. And I think the news of today with Ashley Scoggin and her lawsuit kind of reinforces the fact that at a place like Nebraska, what is done in the dark will always come to the light. And I think it's true at a lot of places, but maybe no more so than Nebraska with the amount of scrutiny that Nebraska gets. And I want to turn this around and ask about the player effect. How do players stand up to that? Your time at Nebraska, I know it's changed since kind of the social media advent has made everyone's life, as you kind of said, always be on display. But how do players deal with that scrutiny and that fishbowl effect?
Well, again, it's so vastly different. I would, if I was a player, and again, it's hard because you want social media because obviously you can make money doing social media now as a student athlete. But you better have it set up to where the mentions and people attacking you, but here's the thing too, is you gotta have thick skin in this day and age of being a student athlete or just being an athlete anymore, just because everyone can have some sort of access to you. And you gotta have thick skin, and you gotta have strong beliefs in what you know, and you gotta have a good team around you. I'm talking family. You gotta have a strong belief system in yourself and a confidence in yourself, because if you let these nimrods that are out there get to you, that these keyboard warriors and these guys that hide behind, goofy pictures or don't even put their real name up there, and that think they're tough, Tommy Tough Nuts behind a keyboard on Saturdays and Sundays, right? Then you're not doing yourself any favors. So I think you can embrace it and say, you know what, I'm gonna live my best life. If I want to, pop down to, the rail and have a beer real quick, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna be smart about it. And, I'm not gonna do anything, stupid or, crazy. But I think you have to do, you can live your life, but you have to do it, very smart and in control, and know that eyes are always on you, and that somehow, some way, someone's always trying to get a leg up on you or edge on you. Somehow there's just people out there that, unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, that they're always looking for an angle on you. But I mean, it'd be hard to have social media nowadays. Facebook was just coming out when we were in college, and that was, that was just, you're just trying to, see who's dating who, right? And who's so, that's all that was. No one was getting at you for missing a tackle or dropping a pass or missing a kick on Saturday. That was coming there shortly after, but it's definitely a crazy world. And, Lincoln's a big, small city, and there's a lot of eyes, but I tell you what, you can live your life and you can do your things, but you just got to be smart about it. And if you're not comfortable doing that, that's fine. Do it in your apartment, do it in your dorm room, do it in, with your family or whatever it is. But, I think if you're, thick skin, you got to have the thick skin, but man, just go be you, don't try to be afraid of somebody or whatever. Just go be you and do what's best for you. Jay,
what teammate do you think is most thankful there wasn't social media around when you guys played?
Gosh, all of us. That's for sure. I mean, golly, those times, that was fun, back in the day. I mean, even if there was camera phones, they were so grainy.
It's not me.
Plausible deniability.
Correct. I plead the fifth. We all did crazy things, right? I mean, all these things, the stuff all the time.
Your extent was like burritos at 2 a.m. though, just down the road.
Right. Well, I mean,
you never headbutted the vending machine or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I just think, we were together with a former teammate of mine and watched the Super Bowl, and Usher's coming on. We're like, man, all the times we heard that song in the back of the rail, and just like getting after it in the back of the rail, right? And it's just, but that's what we did. We went out and had a good time, and you have to worry about people having photos of you, and we enjoyed it. We worked hard. We worked really, really hard, and we played hard too. So, there's a lot of guys that would have struggled. They had been very, very careful about that. I won't name any names. I just said, hey, our whole circle. There's about our whole crew that we rolled with, man. That we weren't afraid of good time, and a little karaoke on Wednesday nights on the Red Fox on West O.
Oh wow!
That was a spot to go. All those times going there and singing Garth Brooks, and then walking out of there at 1 a.m. and being at the 6:30 a.m. run the next morning. It's just how we did it and how we had fun doing it. And I'd go back and do it all over again.
I'm proud of you for finding a different locale on Wednesday nights in Lincoln.
Oh, well, I know the other spot you referenced.
Yeah, Jay Moore making ones on Wednesday night.
And there, you want a funny story? So Larry Fitzgerald came and worked out with us. He left Pitt. Our strength coach Dave Kennedy was at Pitt with Larry, and Dave Kennedy was at Ohio State for many, many years with Cooper, and it was actually at Nebraska before. But Coach K was a Nebraska guy through and through, but came here with Callahan. And so when Larry committed to went to the draft and got ready for the combine, he came and trained with us. And then myself, I lived with Stu Bradley at the time, and Larry hung out with us quite a bit. And we took him to that Wednesday night establishment. We're like, why does everyone go here on Wednesday nights? So we take Larry Fitzgerald on to Wednesday nights. He's like, interesting. You're glad this would have been about 2004 as well. I'm glad there was no social media around as well. We had Larry Fitzgerald and,
Larry didn't enter into the contest. He just watched, right?
Club in North Lincoln.
Yeah. Larry was not a contestant.
No, we all were. I honestly had the amateur hour going on there. I had no idea that was going on. I mean, I was like, okay. And it's like, all right, that's seen enough. It's time to go.
Check, please.
Yeah, we got conditioning in the morning.
It's pretty good. Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore. Jay, will get caught up again next week. Thanks for giving us a few minutes, bud.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Look at old Jay dragging old Larry Fitzgerald out to West Cornhusker on Wednesday.
That's the first I think I've heard of Larry Fitzgerald being in Lincoln during his pre-draft process.
He was because of Kennedy, and I know at the time there was a couple of either news articles on him or there was a couple of pictures floating out there.
Well, that's also kind of, Larry Fitzgerald was Larry Fitzgerald, but it was before Larry was like the NFL legend Larry Fitzgerald. So
Steve is in the comments. No, I don't think that was the locale, Steve, that you're referencing for amateur night.
Oh, no.
No, this was, it rhymes with Rove.
You just cut off the first letter. It doesn't even rhyme with Rove. It pretty much is Rove.
That's true. And it rhymes with drove.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. It rhymes with Rove.
I screwed that up.
You must have been terrible in poetry class.
No, because I never took it.
Chris Schmidt, not a rapper, clearly.
Nor am I up into poetry. Can't grow a mustache, brother. So no poetry for me. We'll wind down hour 2. Hail Varsity continues. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Many thanks to Jay Moore. Many thanks to Charlie McBride. Many thanks to you for jumping in the stream and joining us here. RS checking in from the Philippines. Roddy got into the show and asked who's the guy with Jay Moore on the still pick. That was after the hiring announcement of Scott Frost on the field. Jay and I did a stand-up. That was 30 pounds ago for me. So that was me, Ronnie, with the slicked back hair. I don't have a mustache.
That was before we'd even met.
Yeah, that was 2018. 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
2018.
So about a year before I even started working with Schmidt, that picture was from.
It's been a while. So tomorrow on the show, Mitch Sherman going to be with us. Spend time with Mitch in the 4 o'clock hour. Eddie Markowski will check in before Pius plays tomorrow night in some district action. We get Andy's thoughts on Husker hoops. And then Dr. Rob Zadiska will be with us. Some football thoughts from Dr. Rob, that on the way tomorrow. And we look at plenty of the comments in. We didn't hit Husker baseball. We'll talk to Jabba this week. We'll do another triple play pod with Jabba on Hurrdat Sports. But we'll kind of look at this past weekend, fellas, just real quick. 1-3 that could have been 3-0.
1-2.
Or could have been at 2-1.
Yeah.
But right now they finished 1-2. Thanks. And it was there. So I don't think you can come away totally disappointed, except for still some work to do in the bullpen.
Still a little bit of work to do in the bullpen. They win the later innings in game 1, but then they lose the later innings in game 2 and 3. And what was the mantra that got them to the cusp of a super regional a couple years ago? Gritty over pretty. Mm-hmm. Didn't necessarily have the grit on Saturday and Sunday. They really fought hard. It's little differences in games like that. There are one-score games that are tied going into the ninth. It's little things. Teams that maybe Southern teams will have the advantage on you early on because of the more time they've
Oklahoma made some plays in the field, and they got some timely hits, especially the long ball.
Well, they came in with some swagger, too. I mean, they just beat top 10 Tennessee the night before. So you knew Oklahoma was coming into that game with a load of confidence. And not to say that that's why Nebraska lost, but it was certainly a factor in that game. I mean, Oklahoma's a good baseball team. Nebraska's shown that they can be if they put it all together. Just got to find a way to win those later innings and kind of get that bullpen constructed. It's game 3. They have a very important 4-game set against Grand Canyon, which is a pretty solid program as well. So how do you bounce back there? That will be interesting as well. But it's game 3 in baseball. You play a lot of big games for a reason. I know they don't play 162. It's college, but I still think there's a lot of positives that you could take away from this weekend.
You just don't want it to become a habit, losing these games late. And I don't think at this point you're going to call it a habit. It's not getting off on the right foot by any means. It's disappointing, but the positive is you're playing 3 different Power 5 teams that are high level in your opening weekend, and you were in position to win all 3.
You were tied or had the lead.
Disappointing that you can only come away with 1 win. But I think a net positive on the weekend for Husker baseball, despite the losses. You just hope that this team can do what it takes. I mean, at times in baseball, sometimes it is about willing yourself to victory in those games late. You wish the results were different, but still overall positive. And I think you can see the improvement on this squad from last year to this year already in 3 games.
They started 0-3-1. I mean, it took them a while to get win 1.
Yeah, the San Diego series.
Yeah, right. So there's that. But no, we'll hit some more baseball this week. Husker basketball thoughts. And back at you tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Thanks so much for tuning in.